Today we're going to be taking a look at this, the Sonic Pad from Creality. Now this is an upgrade for not only Creality 3D printers but some others on the market as well that allows you to use the newer Klipper firmware. The benefits of this are not only increased printing speed, bed leveling improvements and improved print quality, but also a lot more accessibility in how you're able to control and send prints to your printer. Today, what we're going to do is take a closer look at this device. I'm going to walk you through its features and capabilities, and then at the very end, I'm going to share with you my thoughts having spent some time with it. Now, just to be clear up front, Creality did send me this for free. However, they have not seen this video before it's been published, and as always, my thoughts are entirely my own. I've not been paid to make this video, and at the very end, I will give you my honest opinion, as I always do, regardless of the fact that it was sent to me for free. Anyway, let's get on with it, and let's first of all discuss what this is actually all about. Okay, now the first thing I want to do is explain how the Sonic Pad is able to bring you some benefits. The way 3D printing is generally done is as follows. We take our 3D design file, we put that in a slicer, which then creates a G-code. That G-code is basically a set of instructions telling the printer what to do, what movements to make, and that then is read by the onboard computer in your 3D printer, and then that tells the motors and the extruder what to do. Most 3D printers are based off older 8-bit CPUs, and most printers run a firmware known as Marlin. Whilst this has developed quite a lot over the years, it is a very old piece of software, and in many ways Marlin has been heavily restricted by that 8-bit CPU that most printers are using. This is where the Sonic Pad comes in. Rather than it running an old 8-bit CPU, it has a far more powerful modern 64-bit processor. It's able to run much newer 3D printing firmware, and it comes pre-installed with Klipper. Klipper is a new modern 3D printing software designed to not only improve some of the limitations that we've had in Marlin, but it brings a lot of new features and capabilities as well. Klipper has much higher accuracy as a result of its new math capabilities. It's got much faster steps, jumping up from up to 175,000 to 500,000 steps a second. It's got new features such as pressure advance and import shaping, which allows you to increase your print speed substantially, and it also brings a lot of stuff that people have been asking for, such as webcam capabilities and API access. What the Sonic Pad does is basically replace the onboard computer that is in your 3D printer already and runs a much newer software, allowing you to get much better performance without having to change the printer itself. Okay, now just to show you what you get in the box with the Sonic Pad. We obviously have the device itself. You can see there we have its screen on the front. There's some ports on the back, and we'll take a closer look at that a little bit more in a minute. Below that, you'll find the manual. We're not going to cover that in this video, but that's there. In the box here, you should find a power supply. This comes with multiple different ends, so you have the ability to use it in the UK, the EU, and all of them are located in that box there, as well as some other accessories. Now, there are a few other little interesting things that you get with the Sonic Pad. You will receive a USB cable that allows you to attach the Sonic Pad to your printer, because it does need to plug in. You'll have some adapters as well. You'll have those power supply adapters that I said. There's connections there for the UK, the EU, the US, all the usual suspects. And you will also find this. This is a sensor that plugs into the back of the Sonic Pad as part of the setup process. Now, this is very important because this sensor allows the Sonic Pad to measure your printer's performance, and it uses that data to help it increase the speed it's capable of printing at. Taking a closer look at the Sonic Pad device itself, it features a large 7-inch touchscreen on the front. It's colour, and we'll take a look at that in action in a minute. It has a 64 64-bit processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, and 8 gigabytes of ROM storage. If we look around the back, you will find that there is a network port. There is an input for that sensor, which I was talking about earlier. We have 2 USB ports, one of them being dedicated for a camera, because this device allows you to plug in a webcam, allowing you to view your prints, but also do time-lapse footage as well. And we have a DC input. On the other side over here, you'll find another 2 USB ports. These are used for connecting to your printer. And then on this side, you'll find some LEDs, and there's a little push-in power switch there as well. There's also some fold-out legs on the back that allow you to stand it up at a nice, easy-to-access viewing angle. But these are also handy because they will go into a 3D print, allowing you to hang this on your printer. And I'll actually show you that later on. Now, obviously, the first thing we're going to need to do is set this up. So what I'm going to do is follow through the process on the screen. We're going to select our language. We're then going to accept the privacy policy. I'm not going to read that. We'll then move on to the next step after a few seconds. Basically, once we've sold our soul, we're then going to select our region. We're then going to connect it to our Wi-Fi network. So I'm going to select the network in the workshop. It's then given us the option to update the firmware. Now, when you get one of these, it's very important that you do update the firmware before using it, because there is a lot of new features been added, additional support for printers, but they've also improved how it handles that sensor, which I was talking about earlier, which I'll show you later on in the video, to improve the overall printing performance. So we're going to tell that to download. Okay, so the firmware update's complete, so we're going to carry on and move on through. So we're going to go to the next step. We've named it, and then we're going to select the printer that I have. Now here you can see all of the compatible printers from Creality. So we've got the Ender 3S1, which I've got, Ender 3S1 F103. So we've got the F401, which is the one I've got. You've got the F103, which is the earlier one. Then you've got the Ender 3S1 Pro, F4 and F103. We've then got the Ender 3 version 2 ABL, Ender 3 version 2, Ender 3 version 2 ABL, and all of those other models all the way along. And the list keeps going and going. This is all the printers that are compatible. Or you can select other models, and actually you can set it up with other printers on the market as well. So you've got the CR series that you can select as well. So it does give a whole host of options. Now, as I've said down here, you can see that we've got Ender 3S1, STM32F401 and STM32F103. If you don't know which version you've got, you're going to need to check first. The earlier versions were running an STM32F103 chipset, and the newer versions are running the STM32F401. Now, there's 2 ways you can check this. You can check it from the firmware, but I'm not 100% convinced myself on if that's correct. So the only other guaranteed way to do it is take the bottom off your printer and look at what the actual SoC is. I've already done that, and mine is definitely the STM32F401. So it's an Ender 3S1. So we're going to select that, select next step. And then it's going to ask us to insert the card reader with an SD card inserted into the position shown below. So they want us to insert an SD card into the side of the device here. Now, it's just worth noting the screen at this point is a little bit confusing because it says, please insert the SD card reader with an SD TF card inserted. Now, they don't include a reader with this. They do include this USB memory stick, though, that you can plug into the side. However, this won't plug into my printer. So looking online, what I've got to do is plug this in, let it transfer the firmware to this. So we're going to plug it into the bottom port. Then once that's done, as it has done now, transfer that over to the SD card and then put that in my printer. You then take the SD card, place it in your printer, and if all goes well, the update should start. Whilst it's doing the update, it will just show this Creality screen that you're seeing here, and it will then reboot back to that once done. Then it's simply a case of taking the included USB cable. You'll note that there's an adapter on the one I've got here. The original one comes as micro USB, but my printer is USB-C, so you use the adapter, and then you plug it into the USB port on the side of the Sonic Pad. If it's all been updated and everything is working correctly, it should connect. All you will see on the actual screen on the printer is just this Creality logo. Once you've done the update to Klipper, you will no longer see the original screen like you did. You don't need the original screen anymore. You simply should see everything on the Sonic Pad. So the very basics of this setup is that you take your Sonic Pad, you connect it to your printer, and you replace the firmware that is on your printer with a new firmware which acts as a pass-through. Your printer is then being controlled from the Sonic Pad via the USB port, and the onboard computer is simply passing on the commands rather than actually doing all of that original 3D printing software. And as I've mentioned already, what you then have is that much more powerful processor in the Sonic Pad running that new Klipper firmware, and that's going to bring you the benefits. Now, once that basic setup is done, there is one more thing that you should do to get the very best from this system. As I showed earlier, included in the box is a sensor that measures your printer's vibrations. It is basically a gyro sensor. There is a feature in this software called input shaping, and what you need to do is perform the full setup for this via the Creality software. Now, I'm not going to walk you through this in this video. There are really good videos on this on YouTube, and I strongly suggest you watch them. I'll actually pin one in the comment section. But the basics are, you take the cable that's been included with the printer, you then need to 3D print a custom bracket that mounts to the side of your extruder, connect it to the Sonic Pad, and follow the process for input shaping, and that then will measure the resonance of your printer. It will store that data in the Sonic Pad, and that will allow you to print at much higher speeds than it was before without causing excess vibrations or issues on your print. The next thing I'm going to do is walk you through the main menus and the options that are available to you in the Sonic Pad, and walk you through some of its features and capabilities as a result of having this new Klipper firmware. Now, once everything is set up, your printer is connected, this will be your main home screen. You can see along the top, it's showing us our hot end temp, our bed temp, the name of our printer. We then have the option of selecting other printers if we wanted to. I've only currently got the S1 set up, and we have the other option there to add more if we wanted to. Then below this we have the current status. So here again we have the hot end temp, and you can see that there's a chart there for that. And then we have all of the other options available to us over here. The ability to move the axes on the printer if we wanted to, so we can home it, we can set the Z home and move the axes around manually. We have our preheating options, allowing us to quickly preheat either the hot end or the bed or both. We've got a preset for PLA and PET-G, or we can do it manually down here as well, allowing you to select it, or you've got a cooling button too. Under control, here we'll find the options that are available whilst we're idle or not printing. So we've got our extrusion options here. You can adjust the settings for that. We've got our fan options. We can control that, turn the cooling fan on or off. We've got our temperature options, allowing us to control, again, the hot end or the bed. This isn't the same as preheat. This is just telling it to go to a set temperature. And then we've got the option to turn the motors off. Under configure is all of the main options for the printer and the device. So for instance, we've got our manual bed leveling option, our auto bed leveling, our probe calibration for our Z height. We've got our network settings, allowing us to configure the Wi-Fi or the built-in network port on the back. We've got our local information, such as the firmware versions, our movement parameters, so you can adjust the acceleration settings and things like that. Our camera settings for the webcam, if you have one connected, as well as the other settings over here, which is the basic settings for the device itself. You'll also notice at all times there's a nice big red stop button down here in the bottom left corner. This allows us to quickly stop the printer right where it is if there was an issue. Finally, we've got the print button. This brings us into the menu, allowing us to select prints that are already stored on the Sonic Pad. We've got the USB memory stick option, the Creality Cloud option, or our print history option, showing us what we've done last. Now, when you have a print in progress, the Sonic Pad will not only give you all of the information about the current status, but it'll also give us some controls as well. If I go under adjustment, under here, it'll allow us to do all the adjustments for the print that's currently taking place with regards to the printer. So we can adjust our Z height, and we've got the distance in millimeter. We can adjust it up or down, 0.01 or 0.05. and we can select between those options. We can adjust our print speed, so we can adjust that either 1% faster, 5%, 10%, or 25% faster, and that is also the same for our flow rate, our temperatures, and our fan. For instance, if I click on the temperatures, we can adjust the current options that are set. So you can see currently the hot end's at 200 with the bed at 70. And if we wanted to adjust these mid-print, we could. And again, you can set the size of the adjustment, 1 degree, 5 degree, 10 degrees, and you can adjust the hot end or the bed just like that. If we go back, we have the same options available for the fan. So it's currently on 100%, but we could manually adjust that here if we wanted to. Then we have the configuration options, and this again takes us into the main configuration options for the printer, just like we seen earlier on in the video. Now, alongside the main configuration and options that you have on the display, you can also control this via a web UI interface. Not only does the Sonic Pad have that network port on the back, it also has Wi-Fi built in as well, allowing you to easily update the firmware, but also connect to the web browser interface, allowing you to view and control your printer remotely. It supports the fluid-based web view as well as the mainsail one, and the main one that Creality are using as standard is fluid, and what we're going to do next is give you a bit of an overview of how that looks. Now, on the home screen of the web interface, it shows you the current status of the printer, the tool settings, the macro settings, and everything else that is going on. Now, there are 2 different pages available on this. I'm using the standard Creality one at the moment, but there is an alternative one available too, which I will show you in a minute. Now, looking around, you can see we have our status up here, which is giving us the current percentage of this print, the speed, the flow, the filament, and then on the right-hand side, you can see the temperature information, so we can see the details for the bed, the details for the extruder, and a chart showing us how accurate that's been over time as well. We then down here under our tool settings have things such as the ability to control the speed. We can manually control the flow. We've got our pressure advanced settings, our smooth time as well. And then further down we've got things such as our fan output, our printer limits, our file list. This is the files that is currently listed on the Sonic Pad device. And then below this, our G-code preview. And if we had that set up, you'd be able to see a preview of the print down there. If we then move through, we have our console. Here we are able to upload G-code directly, and you can even do that from this main screen here as well with the console settings. We have our file list. This is the list of files that is on our printer. Here we can upload files, but also tell it to print as well. We've got our printing history, giving us the information since the last time it was set up. You can see the average print time, the total time, and everything else on here too. Here under the time-lapse screen, you will see your camera if you have one connected. I currently have a Logitech 920 webcam that is plugged into the USB port on the back, and you can see that there, and we're getting roughly 10 frames a second. Now, I've currently configured this to take the time-lapse on board the device, and again, it's just another nice feature that allows you to not only monitor your print whilst it's in progress, but also then have a record of it later as well. And once your time lapses have saved, you can go into here and click on the file. It will then retrieve it to your local browser and then allow you to play it back, allowing you to see the time lapse as it's been captured. You then have the option of simply downloading it to your local PC, or you can also play it back on the Sonic Pad as well. Under configuration, we've then got all the main configuration files for the printer. This isn't something you should really need to mess with as a user. It's very much in the advanced territory, but it is here if you want it. Under system, it gives us the main information for the Sonic Pad itself. So it will tell us the status of the device, the current disk usage, the memory usage, and the system utilization, including the MCU load over here as well. So what this shows you is we're currently in a print, and we're currently only using about 3.5% of the CPU load on the Sonic Pad. And then finally at the bottom, we've got our settings, and this is very much the same settings that you can find on the device. Here we have our date, our time settings, and our name. And then you've got all of the other additional settings for your specific printer, your camera settings, everything else listed here too. Now, to upload and actually print is really straightforward. We simply click the little plus over here, click upload. We're then going to find the file that I want to use, which is Benchy Normal. And then I'm simply going to click on it and then click print. Now, as I've mentioned, there's actually two UIs available on the Sonic Pad. The default is based on Fusion, and that's what you're looking at here. However, there is a mainsail UI available as well by accessing it via the port 8819. I'm not going to go over mainsail in this video. However, I did just want to make you aware that it is available if you were to prefer that interface over the standard Fusion one. Now, the printer I've been using with the Sonic Pad is this, the Creality S1. This is what I genuinely believe to be one of the best low-cost direct drive 3D printers you can get today. It's not only great with the likes of PLA and PETG, but it also prints TPU as well as a result of the direct drive extruder. And if you're into FPV or anything else where you do need multi-filament capability, honestly, it is well worth a look. I'll put a link to my review of this printer in the description of this video as well. Another real nice feature that I like on the Sonic Pad is the built-in leveling system. You have a manual level adjustment which allows you to dial it in close so you can make sure you're not going to do anything like smash the nozzle into the bed. We've then got a level configuration for the sensor, allowing you to put any offsets in, and then we have the mesh bed leveling system as well, allowing you to set the temperature of the bed and perform a full bed level mesh calibration, and it will then store that data on board the Sonic Pad, allowing you to get the best possible results regardless of the deviations in your bed. You can also access this via the web browser as well, allowing you to view this at any time remotely too. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been doing a lot of printing with the Sonic Pad, testing it as much as I can, testing its features such as the time-lapse capability, the increased speed, and what we'll do now is just take a look at how it's turned out. Now, the main testing I've been doing is with PLA and PETG. This is Prusament PLA, and this has been all printed at the same speed, which is 160 millimeters a second, a lot faster than I would usually print with. Now, if we take a look at the first print, which is this one here, overall you can see it has come out very well, though there is some issues around the front bow area. Now, this is largely as a result of insufficient cooling. Whilst the printer is able to get a lot faster, the cooling on the printer isn't necessarily able to keep up. This was printed at the standard Cura settings of 215. So what I then proceeded to do was reduce the print temperature, as I will show you in a minute. Overall, the print quality is actually very, very good. It's literally just this bow area here that we can see some sagging and discoloration in the print. This came out in about 40 minutes, so that's massively improved over what you would be seeing at the normal print speeds. If we move across to the second one I printed, you can see I've marked it there. Things are better. This time I reduced the temperature to 200, and you can see that area around the bow is better, although there still is a little bit of sagging and a little bit of discoloration, as well as a bit of elephant's foot down there at the bottom, but I'm probably squishing in a little bit tight on the first layer. Overall, though, the main print quality is decent. Again, print time was about the same. The third print here was with me making some adjustments. I didn't do the full print this time. I decided to stop it before it finished because I could see we hadn't really seen any improvement in the bow area. And then what I did on the fourth print, this one here, was again make a few more changes, reduce the bed temperature and the print temperature again down to 190 and 60. And there you can see that things again are much better. This is the final print that I've done with a temp of 185, maximum cooling and a bed temp of 60, and it is almost perfect if I'm honest. This again is at 160 millimeters a second. You can see the overall quality of the print is very, very good, although I did seem to have a bit of a layer shift on this one here, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't have that on any of the other prints. They're absolutely fine. I don't know, did something go on in the print process on this one? I wasn't actually watching it. I came back and noticed that it was there, but other than that, it does look very, very good. Moving over to some PET G prints. Again, all of these were done on the printer. You can see here again at 160, you can see that there's some discoloration around that bow area again on the front, largely caused by insufficient cooling. Whilst the printer is able to get up to the speed of 160, you then start to have issues with things like cooling, and I think the next step on this may be an upgrade of the onboard fan. I have tried another duct, but I haven't really seen any benefit to it. What I then did was another print reducing the temperature. Here you can see that there, and actually this one has come out absolutely fantastic with no issues whatsoever. So again, just with a little bit of tuning, we were able to get it pretty much spot on. Now, I also printed this little octopus toy. This is one of those prints that has the joints pre-formed. As you can see here under the overhead, it looks absolutely fine. Looking around, you can see its little face. You can see the legs are moving just like we'd expect. All of the joints have printed absolutely fine. The quality looks really nice as well. Looking at it underneath, you can see there the first layer printed really well too. And overall, the quality of the main body is very, very good. You can see some slight knobbles around the edges just where the retraction points are as part of the build, but overall it really has come out very well, and it's an indication of the kind of quality that you can get from your printer when using the Sonic Pad. Now, before I share with you my final thoughts, I just want to talk about a couple of the features I think make this very, very interesting. For me, the real big benefits of the Sonic Pad are the fact that it allows you to print faster. Yes, sometimes printing faster comes at the expense of quality, but it is a nice upgrade to allow you to do that on your existing printer. I also really do like the web UI interface and just all of the benefits that brings. Yes, I know we can do stuff like that on Octoprint and others, but it's nice to have everything all in one place. Also, I do like the bed mesh setup, the auto leveling features it's got built in. Again, really nice and easy to use. And it's not only the fact that the features are in there, it's that touchscreen that make them nice and easy to access as well, meaning that you can just quickly and easily do things on the printer without messing around with a little scroll wheel menu. Overall, I'm not going to say it makes a fundamental difference to 3D printing, but I will say I think it does bring a lot of nice features to the table. Okay, so it's time for me to share with you my thoughts on the Sonic Pad from Creality. Now, just to be clear again up front, they did send me this for free. However, they've not seen this video before it's been published, and as always, my thoughts are entirely my own. Now, the Sonic Pad costs $160. For that, you are getting an upgraded tablet device that allows you to improve your 3D printing speed, efficiency, and overall 3D printing experience. I think it's a valuable update for any Creality or maybe even any other 3D printer. It not only makes the process of printing just a little bit easier overall, its touchscreen interface is very nice, it's nice and easy to adjust things, it's nice to be able to upload prints remotely. It also brings the benefits of that increased speed, it brings the benefits of those new features as well, such as pressure advance. Now, the Sonic Pad is not the only way to get these, but what Creality have done quite nicely here is provided an all-in-one out-the-box solution. So it's the device, it's got the firmware on board already, it's set up, and the only thing you need to do is do the initial configuration, follow the process, and in my opinion, it's probably the easiest way to get Klipper working with your 3D printer today. There really is nothing I don't like about this device, and I just found it really did make the overall process of printing just a little bit easier. The fact it's a large 7-inch touchscreen, its color, its status, and I really do like that web-based UI. I can update the files remotely, watch the printer as well. It just improves everything about 3D printing on a standard printer. If you're interested in getting one, as I've said, it is available for $160. There is a link to it in the description of this video if you're interested in getting one. Really, I have no complaints. There is nothing I can say bad about this device. I don't even think the price is excessive. I think for what you're getting, I think it's very good. Yes, you could make something similar with an RPI, but the cost of them today really doesn't make it much different when you add into the fact we've got Wi-Fi, 7-inch display, ready to go, basic configuration. I do think it's a bit of a no-brainer if you are looking to try and get Klipper on your printer. Now, that's it from me on this one. If you've got any questions, please do let me know in the comment section and I will try and answer them as soon as I can. Please do share with me your thoughts as well. If you've got any comments, please do put them in the comment section and I will try and answer them as soon as I can. Finally, I just want to say, if you have found this video interesting, please do consider supporting the channel via Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. Whilst we do receive products for free from manufacturers, that does not mean we can keep running the channel without your support. And I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who does support the channel via Patreon. And if you'd like to support us, please do consider checking it out. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe. I will speak to you soon.